On tonight's Gwinnett Prep Rally, the basketball season is winding down, but the games are heating up. Who survived the second round of the state playoffs and which teams reached the end of the road? The Shiloh and Milton boys squared off in a highlight-filled battle of top 10 teams. The Mill Creek and Alpharetta girls game wouldn't be decided until the final buzzer sounded, and the Alpharetta Raiders were looking for the upset over the #1 seeded Peachtree Ridge Lions. Will and Todd will also recap all the other high school sports action from around the area. GPR is your home for all the high-flying, heart-stopping high school sports action, and it starts right now.
For more than 15 years, your source for Gwinnett County sports is Gwinnett Prep Rally.
Hello again and welcome to your county's original high school sports television program. This is Gwinnett Prep Rally, now in its 19th season, and we can be seen right here on GCPS TV for the entire 2011-2012 school year. I'm Todd Klein alongside Will Hammock from the Gwinnett Daily Post. And Will, the Final Four is set in the basketball state playoffs, and Gwinnett County will be well represented once again.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend for the Gwinnett boys teams. They all got wiped out, but the girls team still going strong. Excellent girls basketball around here. You have Norcross, Buford, and Wesleyan girls all have won multiple state championships in the last few years. They're going back to defend their championships, and kudos to the North Gwinnett girls for making their first Final Four since 1963.
Let's get right to the highlights, and we start with a battle between two top 10 teams in the second round of the state playoffs as the Shiloh Generals went on the road to face top-ranked Milton. GPR's Nathan Shutter has more.
Shiloh on the road at top-ranked Milton for their second-round playoff matchup. First quarter, Jordan Gaither with the lob for Trayvon Reed, and the 7-footer slams it home with ease. Generals trail by 1. Milton looking to extend their lead. Charles Mann blows by everyone all the way to the hoop and finishes with the finger roll to put the Eagles up 11-6. Robert Carter's shot is off the mark, but the big guy gets his own rebound and slams it down with authority, but Shiloh's still down by 5. Then it's Mann driving into the paint, and this time he hits a floater over the 7-foot Reed, and the Eagles lead 16-10 after 1 quarter of action. Second quarter, Shiloh on the offensive. Evan Smith is left all alone in the corner, and he buries the tray to cut the Milton lead to 5. Charles Mann drives and kicks it out to a wide-open Jalen Patterson, and he hits a three-pointer from NBA range, and Milton goes to the locker room up 37-25. Second half, Mann with an alley-oop to Shaquille Johnson, flying in like Superman for the two-handed slam. Milton up 41-30. Shiloh doing all they can to stay in the game. The three-pointer is off the mark. Brian Thompson pulls down the offensive board and the putback to cut the lead to 8. Eagles on the break. Patterson, a long pass ahead to Johnson. He is spun around on the foul, but somehow gets the bucket to fall. Milton up by 11. Shiloh not backing down. Thompson kicks it out to Gaither, and he dials one up from long distance, but the Generals still trail 50-38 after 3 quarters of play. Fourth quarter, Milton on the break. Evan Coleman to Tevin Glass, and he throws down the one-handed jam. That got the home crowd on its feet. Then Johnson leading the break. He feeds Glass, who finishes with 2 hands this time around. Eagles dominating up 62-45, and one more for good measure. Patterson up top to the high-flying Shaquille Johnson for the monster jam, and Milton advances to the quarterfinals with a 72-52 win over Shiloh.
Well, Will, you see here in the state playoffs, the way we do it in Georgia, sometimes you have to go on the road for a state playoff game, and when you're playing a team as talented as Milton, that's just something maybe a team like Shiloh wasn't ready to overcome.
Yeah, this is a very good Shiloh team. Certainly has some stars on that team, but really Milton's just a loaded all-star team, and that's what they ran into. Buzz saw here. Milton's so very talented. We saw it from Coach Boyd over at Burtmar for years, how he built those talented teams with transfers, and he's doing the same thing over there at Milton. An excellent team.
Well, Will, going from here, where's Shiloh? Obviously, the big guys going to Georgia Tech. How does Shiloh regroup, and what do you expect out of the Generals next season? Obviously, this year was a really good year for Shiloh.
It was the best year they've had in quite some time, and they really had an exceptional season with Coach Rivers. I'm sure he'd like to make this a tradition instead of a one-year thing, but it's going to be tough with Robert Carter, like you said, leaving to go to Georgia Tech. It's going to leave a huge void. Now they have to build around Trayvon Reed, the 7-foot sophomore. What they can build, what kind of pieces they can put around him is going to tell a lot about their future.
Well, back to the highlights, in Peachtree Ridge's second-round opponent didn't appear to be an upset threat on paper, but the Alpharetta Raiders are the #3 seed from Region 6, and they made the state tournament for the first time in school history. But that is why they play the games. GPR's Chase Watson has all the action from Swanee.
A big-time matchup in the second round of the state tournament. Alpharetta draws first blood when Carlos Burst nails the deep three-pointer from the top of the key to put the Raiders up 3-0. The big man, Brandon Jack, says, "I can do that too." He knocks down a long triple of his own to put the Lions on top 8-5 in the first. Ty Toney uses the sick crossover to get by his man and throws up the crazy scoop shot in the lane, and the Raiders were heating up. Jordan Capps starts the fast break here, and he finishes it with authority, throwing down the two-handed jam, but the Lions trailed by 5 in the second. Bjorn Walker slings the pass to David Zisick, who squares up and drains the three ball, pushing the Raider lead to 8, 31-23. Peachtree Ridge keeps the three-point contest going. Benny Johnson feeds Edwin Efizoke, who gets in on the fun, but the Lions still trailed by 10, 52-42. Some good ball movement here. Jack hits Capps on the backdoor cut. He slams it down to pull the Lions to within 8 in the third. Walker finds Toney, who takes it hard to the rack right at Capps and gets the hoop and the arm. Raiders holding on to the 6-point advantage. Lions making a fourth quarter charge. Benny Johnson finds himself wide open and buries the tray to cut the lead to 3 with time winding down. But Alpharetta made big plays all night. Walker gets the monster follow-up dunk, and the Raiders come away with the win 80-69 over Peachtree Ridge.
Well, all-state tournament losses are tough, but this one I think is going to stick with Peachtree Ridge for quite a long time, mainly because the brackets really set up beautifully for them to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I look for Peachtree Ridge to make a run. I was surprised they didn't make a good run at the Final Four losing this game. They really ran into a hot shooting Alpharetta team, which obviously one of the hotter basketball teams in the state right now, really shooting the ball well, putting up big numbers, and to put up those kind of numbers against the Peachtree Ridge defense, which has been pretty stout all season, it really was surprising to me.
And you talked about trying to make runs like this a tradition. Looks like maybe Peachtree Ridge is equipped to maybe a little bit better than Shiloh to get back to this level again next year.
Yeah, they're going to lose some key players too, but I think overall as a program, there's a lot of depth in that program from top to bottom, and their 8th grade team has a couple stars on it. They just won the county championship at the 8th grade level, so plenty of talent coming up in the Peachtree Ridge system, so I don't see much of a drop-off there.
Time now to recap other boys basketball action from the state playoffs. It's brought to you by Tommy Lee Carpets, and we begin with the Berkmar Patriots.
Yeah, they ran into that buzzsaw too. Alpharetta hot shooting, putting up 80 points on Berkmar. Berkmar is so very good in the backcourt, and just really surprised that they had trouble with Alpharetta as well. I really thought one of those Gwinnett teams would have a chance to beat Alpharetta and make it to the Final Four here in Gwinnett. But tough break for Berkmar. Still a great season, won the Region 8 title, and is still doing great things under Greg Phillips.
You talk about great things. GAC's had a great run over the last several years. You expecting them to put another run in this year, Will, but just a really tough game against Manchester.
Yeah, that was a tough draw for GAC. As good as those other teams had set up, GAC had it pretty hard. This was a number 1 versus number 2 in the state matchup, so probably a state championship game you were looking at in this matchup. GAC probably out-talented and had a chance to win that one.
And then North Gwinnett having a really rejuvenated year, had a great season, but again, played Milton, and we talked about how earlier in this how good Milton was.
Yeah, they fought Milton tooth and nail, really played a close game, and North Gwinnett had it in their hands there late in the third quarter and just kind of let it slip away, and it turned into a rout. But really a great season for North Gwinnett. They did a lot of good things and really built that tradition back up.
And going back to talk about a couple of these teams, we'll start off with the Berkmar Patriots. Like you said, they've won back-to-back region titles. Greg Phillips has done a great job. Does that continue? Does the tradition continue over at Berkmar?
I think it does. I think you're in similar to the situation to Peachtree Ridge. There's a lot of depth and a lot of talent coming up. And the main thing with Berkmar is they've restored that luster and restored that tradition for the program that kind of slipped for a few years. They'd really been the basketball force in Gwinnett County for several years, and they kind of slipped a little bit. But they've been coming back these last few years with Coach Phillips. He's an excellent coach and has a lot of talent. He gets the kids to play hard. He gets every bit out of them.
And then the same question for North Gwinnett. Obviously, Chris Bolden, losing Chris Bolden is going to be tough for this team, but it was nice to see North, that really has a big tradition of basketball success, get back to that success. Where does the North program stand?
I think it's the same situation as Shiloh. You're really losing that star player, losing a couple of guys that have started several years, but really you look at that North Gwinnett team, you have a couple of talented freshmen that played a lot of minutes on this team, had some huge shots there in the playoffs, so those guys are really going to be the center of this team next season. So I think that's enough talent to make them a force in Region 7.
Well, let's turn our attention back to the ladies. And the Mill Creek Hawks faced a difficult opponent on the road in round 2 of the state playoffs, taking on Region 6 champion Alpharetta. Chase Watson has the call.
This second round matchup would come down to the wire. India Dillard starts the scoring for Mill Creek in this one with a couple of nice post moves, and she uses the left hand to give the Lady Hawks the 2-0 lead. Alpharetta responds with some tough defense. Lauren Brown gets the steal and pushes it up to Kylie Smith, who gets the shooter's bounce on the layup, putting the Lady Raiders up 4-2 in the first. Then it's Brown again, this time doing it by herself. She goes all the way up the court and finishes with the smooth scoop shot. 14-12, Alpharetta still in the first quarter. Mill Creek would start to get hot. Sierra Menzies finds Nadia Miller on the side. Miller pulls the trigger and sinks the three-pointer, cutting the Alpharetta lead to 1. Brown finds herself in the right place off the Mill Creek save. She snags the turnover and puts it right back up and in, but the Lady Raiders trailed by 2 heading to the half. In the third, Menzies shows the quickness and blows by the defense, getting to the rack for the easy layup and moving the Mill Creek lead to 6, 34-28. Kylie Smith in transition gets the pretty assist to Alexis Alexander, who gets the low post shot to fall, pulling Alpharetta to within 3 still in the third quarter. Then Jasmine Newsom fires the pass to Delaney Hollenbeck on the block. She uses her size to go over the defender, and we have ourselves a tie ball game headed to the fourth. Mill Creek would come out aggressive in the fourth. Menzies gets the steal and takes it all the way back the other way. She gets the fast break layup and draws the contact. Lady Hawks up 1 with time expiring. Alpharetta down 2 with 3 seconds on the clock. They get the rebound and Brown puts up the half quarter for the win, but it's no good, and Mill Creek gets the victory 51-49 over Alpharetta.
Well, what a victory there for Mill Creek. They go on the road, play a very talented Alpharetta team, and come away with a big win.
Yeah, it's a great win. Really 2 great wins there in the playoffs by the Mill Creek program. This was kind of had some holes to fill in this team from last season, but they had a great season, fought through, beating Brookwood on the road, and then coming through and getting this road victory. So congrats to Coach Phillips on a great season. Yeah,
and like you said, Will, a great road victory there. Kind of ran out of gas a little bit in the next round, playing a very talented North Gwinnett team. Ended up losing to their fellow Gwinnett County team.
Yeah, that was a tough loss to take. They really ran into a buzzsaw. North was playing so well in that game. Probably the best game North's played all season, but still Mill Creek had an excellent basketball season. They really built tradition. I think it's 7 years in a row now. They've been to at least the second round of the playoffs. So I look for that program to continue to stay strong. They have Jasmine Carter, one of the state's top sophomores, to build around.
Time now to recap other girls hoops action from the state playoffs. It's brought to you by Breda Pest Management, and we begin with the Norcross Lady Blue Devils, who are back in a very familiar place.
Yeah, they're starting to play their best basketball this season, really putting together. Diamond DeShields is stepping it up a notch. She did 22 in the second round win, had another 17 in the quarterfinal victory, and Shayla Cooper's become a great number 2 option. She had a combined 31 points in those 2 games. So both those players are really marquee go-to players. I think Shayla Cooper is maybe underrated because Diamond is so good.
And then we'll go to Wesleyan and I guess continue the trend of the girls teams not being very surprising in the positions that they're in. Wesleyan back in the Final Four, even though they didn't win their region title. I think everybody expects Wesleyan to get a state championship.
Yeah, Wesleyan's loaded for another state championship run. Holly Wilkins had 30 in the quarterfinal win. Jordan Frazier, 2 great games back-to-back, including a 15-steal game against Darlington.
And then we have Buford.
Yeah, Buford just rolling right along again, 53-45. They won in the second round. Won by 22 there in the quarterfinals. Callie Kay stepped up in the quarterfinals to score 12 points, but Kayla Davis continued to get it done, and Andrea Carter, coming back from her injury, really boosted this team and got them motivated for a postseason run, which they've done lately, and I look for them to make another run at the championship this week.
Yeah, and talking about Buford, Will, like you said, had some injuries early. They're playing some great basketball now. Do you see them, what is their biggest, what do they have to overcome to win a state championship?
I think they just got to keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they're playing their best basketball of the season right now. I don't think it's going to be, they're probably going in as the favorite just because what they've done in the past. And you look at, they've got several weapons that have played well all season, but a couple of those parts were missing. Andrea Carter was out. Mackenzie Dare is an excellent player. She was missing for quite some time. So getting those girls back in the lineup and getting to full strength at the right time of the season is going to be a big boost going down to Macon.
Well, and you talk about a team with expectations. Norcross is certainly that team, but as you told me earlier, the McEachern team, you think, can give them a very tough test in the Final Four.
Yeah, I think McEachern's widely considered probably the most talented 5A girls team in the state. They're really going to test Norcross in the semifinal round. Norcross is going to have a battle just to get to the finals. I think the edge Norcross has maybe in that game is inexperience. They've been there before and done it before, and certainly Diamond DeShields has done it on that level, and she's capable of going off at any time and leading her team to the title.
Time now for Will's World. We put 60 seconds on the clock. We get in the mind of our very own Will Hammock, and it's brought to you by Next Star Communications.
Yeah, we're going to start off talking some soccer. Over at Wesleyan and Norcross, they're playing some great soccer right now. The boys' team's doing well, but the girls are really off to a strong start. They have a veteran team. Hannah Dwayne's a great goalie. She's one of 10 seniors on that team, probably the deepest, most veteran team that Lacey Gilbert's had over there. And Lacey does a great job for Wesleyan. It's good to see them off to a great start in what should be a very good soccer season. And one of their rivals is having a great season, the Providence girls. They're off to an exceptional start too. They're 5-0, really rolling right along. They've had some tough times the last few years. They lost their coach, Johnny Williamson, to cancer. I know that was really emotional and tough to overcome, but they're really putting it together this season. Providence is getting it done. I look for them to be definitely a power at the Class A level, possibly a state championship type team. And talk a little football here at the end. The rewards keep coming well after football season for Mickey Kahn and the racing football program. Atlanta Sports Council and their Atlanta Sports Awards named Mickey Kahn the Georgia Coach of the Year, so that was a great honor for him. And no surprise, Robert Kimdichie was the Athlete of the Year for high school sports, and he's a big-time player, probably the #1 recruit in the nation by all the recruiting services.
Well, Will, it's never too early to start talking about high school football. You mentioned Grayson. Talk about maybe next year the pressure that's going to be on Grayson and how you expect them to handle it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different. I mean, they're going to come in as the favorite, the team that everybody's looking at to knock off. It's going to be a tough run, but I think what gives them an edge is that Kimdichie and that defense. I think offensively they're going to have a lot to replace. I think you're going to see replacing Nick Schuessler at quarterback is going to be harder than people think, but defensively they're going to be plenty stout with most of that group coming back.
And looking at the soccer season, it's coming up, it's upon us. You talked about Wesleyan and Providence soccer there. Well, when we look at those bigger classifications on the girls' side, let's stick with that. Who do you think maybe the top 1, 2, or 3 teams are going to be to look at this season?
Yeah, I think on the girls' side, you got to look at Mill Creek over there in 7-5A. They're a very good team. I think North Gwinnett's got a lot coming back. They're going to be strong. Peachtree Ridge is good, and I think Collins Hill's probably going to be the best, the most loaded girls team over there in Region 7. And you look over at Region 8, I think it's going to be the usual suspects, the Brookwood, Parkview, and Grayson. But certainly the soccer around here is high, so any of those teams when they get to the state tournament can win state.
Time now to focus on standout performances, so let's move on to this week's Building Blocks presented by Britt's Home Furnishing. And first up is Jordan Capps from Peachtree Ridge.
Yeah, we were talking earlier in Jordan Capps, if you're going to wear those shoes, you're going to have to be pretty good, and he certainly is. He had 26 points. 9 rebounds in this game, and he's a guy that really stepped up that team to another level when he returned. Had a high ankle sprain in December that really made him miss almost 2 months of the season, but once he got back, he really stepped it up. He's an exceptional player.
We moved to the girls' side, and Jasmine Carter. We talked about Mill Creek having a great season. Jasmine Carter had a great game.
Yeah, she's very athletic. She's only 5'8", 5'9", but really very athletic. Probably seems to hang in the air forever, and it really gets what she wants on the glass. You see her going up here for a rebound, and just a great scorer. Maybe not the best shooter around, but she finds a way to get the ball in the basket. Takes a lot of high percentage 2-point shots.
Well, Georgia Tech fans are be interested in how Robert Carter played in this game. What do you think about Robert Carter playing for the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, 10 points, 12 rebounds there against Milton. Very good Milton team. But he's a guy I think that's going to have to contribute immediately for Tech. Obviously, Tech can use the help, but he's a guy that really could work on his fitness. I think at the college level, he's a guy that could be a beast if he puts on a lot of weight and gets that fitness in gear. I think he could be an exceptional player.
Well, our thanks to Britt's Home Furnishing for bringing us those building blocks, Will. And who else played well last week that we should mention?
Yeah, shifting gears to baseball a little bit, Matt Olson from Parkview, who's going to Vanderbilt. He had a great game this week, threw 5 scoreless innings and, against Mill Creek in a victory, and he struck out 10 in those 5 innings, leading the Panthers to a big win over Mill Creek. All
right, we're out of time, but you can visit us online at GwinnettPrepRally.com for the world-famous message board and video highlights. You can also keep up with GPR on Twitter and via our Facebook fan page. So be sure to join us next week for more highlights and features on Gwinnett Prep Rally every Tuesday through Friday right here on GCPS TV. For Will Hammock and all of us here at GPR, I'm Todd Klein. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you under the lights.